Why do some people deny the atrocities of October 7th? Take a look at this clip over here with Andrew Fox. He's a Middle East expert talking about some new evidence that has emerged regarding October 7th that makes some of these claims and of denial of the atrocities something that's a lot less tenable. So we'll watch this clip together and then talk about it. But first, hit that subscribe button over there in the corner. We'd love to stay in touch. Check this out.
Completely absent from this conversation is the imagery from 7th of October, of course, which is by some measure far worse than anything that's happened in Gaza. I have seen footage far and above the video they show people. I've seen evidence way beyond that, and it's so horrific I can barely talk about it without the hair on my arm standing up. You know, what Hamas did to Israelis.
Worse than I saw the 47-minute video.
Yeah,
it's the most horrible thing I've seen in my life.
So if you see the sexual assault evidence on top of that, it's shocking. And it's not a level of detail I think your listeners particularly want to hear, but it is enough to make me lose my voice over it, as you can tell, probably. Horrendous. Like, I can't even begin to describe how bad those pictures are.
The Times of London just reported that indeed there's new evidence and testimonies describing the sexual assault carried out by Hamas on October 7th. This has been a weirdly a sticking point with the anti-Israel crew. Even the ones who might have accepted the footage they have seen will not accept that there was any sexual and I'm sure people listening can know the sort of lefty firebrands that I'm talking about, who will say, no, there was no rape on October 7th. But you're saying that absolutely there was the case.
Yeah, I'm quite tired of being gaslit. I know what I've seen, and I know what the evidence I've seen is, and it's beyond question. And there's a reason people deny it, and it's because the murders and the burning of kibbutzim, in their heads, they justify it as resistance. Hamas were justified in doing that because they lived in a concentration camp and yada, yada, yada. Obviously nonsense, but that's their position. When you throw rape into the mix, that's very hard to justify as the actions of a freedom-fighting resistance operation. And it kind of derails their entire narrative. So there's an immediate cognitive dissonance when people have the rape put to them. And I think that's why it's so denied. It's also damaging to the Arab audience, of course, where rape is not considered an acceptable behavior. And again, that resistance narrative suddenly derails when you accept that Hamas went on a mass rape endeavor on 7th of October. So there's a very clear kind of psychology behind why people are so keen to deny this. And you can see when you mention it online, immediately the bot swarm descends upon you.
Yeah.
It's the one thing that triggers them off every single time. You can guarantee your mentions will be full of denial of this stuff. But, you know, it wasn't just rape. It was mutilation and just absolutely unspeakable ways to treat a human body, quite frankly. And this new reports, it's, you know, some of the evidence they talk about in this is stuff I've seen. And, you know, people go, why haven't they released it? Well, when in any rape in the West ever do we release the evidence? You know, the victims have a right to privacy. They have a right to not have their worst moments released to the world for people to mock and say that it's faked and deny that what happened to them happened to them. Of course, you know, it's this double standard that gets applied to Israel. Why haven't you showed your women being raped to the world? It's like, listen to yourselves when you ask this question. You know, absolutely horrifying.
Well, it's even worse than that. The IDF are being accused of behaving like that in Gaza. Now, maybe it's my bias, but I find that very hard to believe. And I've not seen any footage of that. I've not seen any, and there's some footage you might find of sort of IDF sort of standing in a circle trying to hide something that's going on.
In prison, yeah.
What was that?
It was at the prison. It's the detention facility inside Israel itself. There's a video where essentially the guys put their shields up and you see a prisoner getting forced against the wall. But again, there's no evidence of rape there. The soldiers involved who were arrested weren't charged with rape. They are now suing people who published that they were rapists. So, you know, they're confident enough in their own innocence that they are taking this to civil court. for defamation. And again, there's no actual evidence of rape there. And the one other major report throughout the war about rape by the IDF was Al Shifa Hospital. And Al Jazeera published that. And then the woman who made the allegation retracted 24 hours later. So Al Jazeera were forced to delete that article and retract it. There's lots of allegations. And quite frequently we see the old deny, reverse accusation piece here that you get in domestic abuses, where the abuser alleges they are the victim of what they've actually done. And you see this all the time, that inversion. There was a spate of videos that came out last year of like beheaded babies in Gaza. Bombs don't behead people and leave the rest of the body untouched. That's not how high explosive munitions work. It was clearly a Hamas attempt to mock Israel for the mistake they made on that reporting of 7th of October, talking about 40 beheaded babies, which was acknowledged as a mistake. It was acknowledged as misreporting. The IDF never claimed it, but Hamas saw an opportunity to mock Israel for that. And yeah, it's a pattern that you've seen time and time again throughout this conflict.
It is fascinating to watch that the very same people that scream to the rooftops believe all women, and that to even ask a question about somebody who claims assault is something that is beyond the pale and something that you should be ashamed of. That same standard doesn't apply when it comes to the Israeli women, to the Jewish women that made these claims regarding October 7th. It's the double standard is mind-numbing sometimes, but we've seen that really with regards to the entire reception of October 7th. October 7th, which has clear footage recorded by Hamas themselves, that they took credit for themselves on GoPros, that they recorded themselves doing the worst of the worst things and showing it proudly to the world around them, that there are still people out there that have denial of what took place. Some people don't even acknowledge that anything even happened. You used to wonder why people, when they had footage, we have survivors walking around, there's people that deny that the Holocaust happened. You say, well, how could that be? We have something that happened in very recent history. There are still many survivors to this day walking around. I mean, unfortunately, they're getting less and less, but they're still around. There's clear evidence over there. You could see the concentration camps. We have all the evidence that one would need in any real assessment of any historical, and people deny the Holocaust. Okay, well, that question of how a person could deny the Holocaust, something that happened 80 years ago, becomes a lot less baffling when there are actual video GoPro footage taken by the perpetrators, but out of pride of the perpetrators. Not that it was recorded secretly it was recorded by them to publicize and to act as a form of psychological warfare. And nonetheless, there are swaths of people that deny that anything even happened, or that it was justified in that it happened. You can't look at video footage of families being slaughtered in their homes, innocent families, families that were the most left-leaning, open-minded, embracing of two-state solutions, most peaceful, that those were the ones that were attacked. Those were the ones. That's resistance. It never ceases to baffle me, the amount of hypocrisy that comes out when it comes to the way that certain people discuss the atrocities of October 7th. Unfortunately, there are a good number of people that are aligned with this, but kudos to people like Andrew Fox that has a particular degree of expertise when it comes to the Middle East that can point us to the reality of the situation in what actually really took place. If you like this content overall, hit that subscribe button over there in the corner. We'd love to stay in touch. Take care.